We actually had a subscriber who had a question for you, and I thought it would be good to bring this up now with regards
Sure.
to your training routine with the bands. So I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, we didn't really get into that last time or any of the times we
No.
chatted. So the subscriber asked, what is Robert Feesey's resistance band routine? How many days per week, including sets and reps? So I guess they're just really curious about that. Maybe they're doing a
Oh,
band
right.
routine and yeah, so
Yeah, 6 days a week. Yeah. I'll just give you a very brief. I've actually lowered the repetitions down with bands. So I'm sort of working between the sort of 7 to 12 range at the moment. As long as the resistance is enough. I don't use bands like they show on the videos or when you see them on the internet and people are selling them. I don't use them that way. You see, I just use them for the resistance. So I don't use any of the handles, no bars, any of that. If I was doing a shoulder press, for example, I work out, I get about 3 bands, I tread on each end in the middle of the bands, I hold the ends like that, and then I just press from a standing position. But I have enough resistance on there that I can only do about 8, 9 maybe reps. So I'm still getting a very good workout. It's exceptionally difficult. I couldn't get a 10th rep, for example.
and you're doing multiple sets, I'm assuming, of an exercise.
Oh yeah, yeah. 8 work sets per exercise, probably.
You cut off a bit there. So you said you don't do very many exercises, but you do about 8 work sets per exercise. Is that what I heard?
That's correct, yeah. That's the way I've always done it.
So it's the same like you did with your free weights, just with the tubes now.
Yeah, pretty much. Except the feeling's different. I think you can get so much more control with tubes because you haven't got any weight coming down against gravity. The contractions are so good. As long as you're using enough tubes, so you've got enough resistance in the first place, it's just really good, actually. It's very basic and it's so kind on your joints.
Is there certain exercises that you haven't been able to do just from a practical standpoint?
I can cover all muscle groups. It just takes a bit of thinking, a bit of thought on different exercise, different angles, different setups, and so on. And I use my bed as a sort of a place where I can sort of put the band around. Then I put my feet against the bed frame, so I've got something to pull against, and that's quite effective actually.
With regards to the way you set it up, so like, will you still do where you hit like one, maybe two muscle groups per workout? Is it still something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Honestly, it's very, very basic. I do for quads, and I work quads twice a week. So on one day, I do front squats. I hold the bands, I bring them up to about there, like that, and then I squat down from that position. I've got about 8 or 9 bands like that, or tubes rather. There's a hell of a lot of resistance, and I can barely get 10 reps. And I mean, the 10th rep coming up is extreme. It's like having 180 kilos on your back. It's that same sort of intensity, but you don't have the weight because I've got so many bands. So if I'm using 8, there's a lot there. And what I do is I grab them from right down by the floor. So when I pull them up, hell of a lot of tension. There's tension from the bottom up. Like I said to you before, as you get older, you've got to think about what free weights, heavy. You got to remember, I used to train exceptionally heavy. As I said, I used to back squat with 230 kilos on my back. I think I was probably about 65 kilos in weight at the time. So if you can look at that, 230 kilos on a 65 kilo man, you've got to go by the ratio, your body weight ratio to what you're pushing.
Are you still working within that mid range as well? Still doing that?
With the tubes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, what I'm doing is I'm actually going, well, I do cut out the bottom inch of a movement on some movements, and I have them so tight that I can't do a full movement. So if I was doing a bicep curl, I can only get to about there. I can't get any higher. So I've got enough tension on there so I can just about bring it up to about there for about 7 reps.
So it's interesting that you're still able to do the low repetition stuff with high effort. So that's kind of cool. I think there's a lot of misconception around bands and thinking that it can only be done for high reps and that kind of thing, right?
No, no, no. I've adapted this my own way. I saw a couple of the videos and I thought, oh, that's rubbish. That's going to do nothing. Absolute rubbish. You've got to remember, muscles react to intensity and stress. Whatever's implied to the muscles don't know if it's a bag of manure or a barbell. So as long as you've got enough resistance on the muscle groups, no matter what you're using, it's going to work.
Well, when we spoke about about your training routine when you were competing. Can you break that down with the bands? How does that look now? Real simple.
Sure, real simple. Right. A Monday would be a warm up with lateral raises, do some lateral raises, warm the shoulders up. Then I'll just call it a bench press. So then I do like a bench press. Then I go on and I'll do a wide row, and then I'll do a narrow row, and then I'll do a fly. That's my Monday. Tuesday is quads. So on quads, I do front squat, holding them up about there. And then I do like a static lunge, which is pretty good. And I do that's the second exercise. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, arms. And what will I do? I do bicep curls. I do a tricep extension above the head, a chest expander, and I do a lat pull down like that. That is my Wednesday. I also bring in a calf raise exercise on that one too, which is quite good. I actually take that to a bit higher rep. I usually do about 16 to 12 reps on the calves. I train them 3 days a week. Thursday, I start off again, warm up with lateral raises like so. Then I do a shoulder press, and then I go back and I do a wide row again and a narrow row. And I do a cable crossover like that. That's it. And then on the Friday, I do a Romanian deadlift, and I do front squats, and then I do a sissy squat. I use a band and I come up behind, you take your knees right down forwards, and then I do those. They're quite a similar movement to a leg extension. It's a similar movement on the quads. On my last day, it's just a repeat of Wednesday.
Okay, that's pretty standard week to week for the most part. You just strive for certain progressions, like where you'll maybe increase the band, maybe add an extra band. How do you do the progression thing at this point?
Oh, yeah, I gradually increase bands. I only gauge it by how many reps I'm doing. Every set I do is I can't do another rep. I do my maximum on every set. So if I think I can go up another band, another tube, then I will, and I'll try again. So I've gradually increased over the months on how many bands or tubes that I'm doing.
And you've been doing this now for how long? This specific tubing or band routine, we'll call it.
2 years. I haven't touched a weight in 2 years.
Wow. And it's hard to believe, like, for someone who's so invested. I mean, you are older now, right? You're 62, right? Yeah. So when you hit 60, basically, is when you made that shift to the band routine.
Yeah. When I started off through the COVID, I had some free weights as well, and I combined them with the tubes, which was good. But now I've developed a way of just using the tubes. I might go back and use the free weights again. But at the moment, I'm only going on how it's working, and I'm still keeping in good shape.
That's clear. That's clear.
Do you see what I mean? It's doing its job. What I find, if you found something that's working, why change it? At the moment, like I've told you previously, when I used to train with weights, say 5-6 years ago, whenever, I used to come home and I felt like I'd been hit by a double-decker bus. I could hardly move. I could hardly get out of the chair. I was walking around like a cripple. Now, I've got absolutely no joint complaints at all. Nothing. No injuries, nothing.
That's amazing. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. So with all those exercises that you listed, you will average around 8 hard sets per exercise.
Yeah, around about that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in total, you might hit like between 16 and maybe 32 sets in a workout. Hard, respectable sets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to remember, there's a difference through the skeleton, through the joints. If you're deadlifting 200k plus off the floor, or you're doing it with bands, so you haven't got anything against gravity, it's a different take. This is almost more pure on the muscle groups.
Would you say that you can handle maybe more training now than with the free weights as far as hard working sets, etc.?
That was a good word, technical, because what I'm finding at the moment is the technique and the intensity is greater. There's no cheating in the moves. There's no forcing a rep up. I'd love to do a video on it.
We could feature it in the magazine if you like. We got the magazine now. So you're going to have a whole bunch of people now going out and buying tubing, I think.
I'll tell you what, I think I should get sponsored by a tubing firm.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Let's rewind time. Let's go back to your peak contest prep when you were competing for the British titles. Do you remember how you approached it and how it evolved, specifically for fat loss? How long was the contest prep, and then what did that look like for you specifically?
Right.